Right, in this segment we want to talk with Mr. Francis Mashayamombe. We want him to share his story, his life story, from when he started out in agriculture up to this point in his life. Mr. Mashayamombe, we want to welcome you to the program. Can you please tell us more about yourself?
Well, thank you very much. I'll begin from 1949 when I was born in Shurugwi communal area. But I actually grew up in Musengezi and Stomborwezi small-scale commercial farming areas, where my parents had moved in about 1950, thereabouts, going on. So, part of my early life was spent in Musengezi. Then we moved to Stomborwezi in 1953, just before I went to primary school.
Okay.
Then I went to primary school in the area, a school called Matoranjera, 1957 to 1965. 1964. Then I went to secondary school in Mrewa, St. Paul's Mission, Musami. 1965 to 1968, I finished my O-levels then. At that point, there was a possibility that I would have carried on with my secondary education, then university, but there was a financial crisis at the time because my other siblings also needed support and there wasn't enough money.
Okay.
So I made a deliberate decision to go training, and I went to Chivero Agricultural College in 1970 up to 1973, where I graduated with a diploma in agriculture. Thereafter, I briefly worked at a large-scale farm as an assistant farm manager in Karoi, but that didn't take long because I then got a job with the now ZFC, Zimbabwe Fertilizer Corporation, as a sales representative. I was based in Toko, and I worked there from about 1974, I would say, up to about 1976. Basically, my job was selling fertilizers, selling chemicals, and also I was interacting with farmers, giving them education about these crop chemicals and inputs. At the same time, just about the same time, I then joined the Department of DEVAG at the time.
DEVAG.
Department of Agricultural Development, as it was called.
Okay. Which year was this one?
That was now 78, if I remember, late 77, 78. And I was based in Madziwa,
okay,
north of Bindura, in the Shamba district.
What was your designation, your title?
My title at first was extension officer.
All right.
All right. Then there was a guy above me, a white guy, who was the agricultural extension officer.
All right.
All right. But things were moving fast, and I became the agriculture extension officer myself and moved on to work in Shamba district itself.
All right.
I worked there through covering the communal areas, because the small scale and large scale were covered by another department called Codex of Conservation and Extension.
All right. Okay. So you are telling me that the extension services was basically segregated along racial lines, is it?
At that time, this was very much the case, yes.
All right.
This was very much the case. This was just before independence and then soon after independence.
Right.
But the new government that came into power in the 80s changed all that, and the two departments, Conex and DEVAG, were amalgamated in the early years of our independence. And a new department called Department of agricultural, technical, and extension services, agri-techs, emerged. Yeah. Then after a while, I was promoted to district agriculture extension officer in about at the end of 1981. And I landed myself in Mount Darwin,
All right.
where I was to spend another 10 years there as now the regional agriculture extension officer and later the district agriculture extension officer. I stayed there for those 10 years and then moved on to Gurue. It was just a lateral transfer, staff movements. And I became the head of architects there again. I moved there in 1991. In 1998, I was moved again, this time to Kadoma, Mashayamombe West. And that's where I stayed about 3 years, 98, 99, 2000. The work I was doing basically as a regional agricultural extension officer or district agricultural extension officer was connected basically with agriculture extension. Right? I was the head at district level, overseeing the work of several agricultural extension personnel under me, agriculture extension officers, agriculture extension supervisors, and the agriculture extension workers at that time. I don't know what they are called now. Because in 2000, I then left agri-techs and moved on to the University of Zimbabwe after I basically educated myself over the years. I first acquired a diploma in adult education at the University of Zimbabwe in the early 90s. Then I went on to do my bachelor's degree in adult education. Then I went on to do my master's degree in adult education at the end of the 90s. Then I joined the university in 2000 and worked for the university for about 15 years before retiring in 2014, at the end of 2014. So
Wow.
basically, this is my life as regards my family. I'm happily married to my wife. We got about 5 children. We got 5 children actually. And the eldest child is in Australia. She's a nurse there. Then I've got the sons. One of them went to university. He's an immigration officer. The other guy is working for a bank in Bulawayo. Another guy is working as a miner in the Russian area. And there's one son I live with here. He hasn't found work yet because of maybe problems with work these days. And I have a daughter in South Africa who's also trying her luck there. So, that's basically me.
Wow. Thank you very much. Maybe at this point we want to know more about your experiences in extension. The interesting thing about your narrative, your story so far is that you worked both before independence and after independence, right? And you've got an idea of the conditions of the state of agriculture before independence and after independence. And also, I would want your thoughts really on the state of agriculture at present and how you think that we as a country can move forward as far as agricultural development is concerned.
Thank you very much. That's quite a mouthful. It is true that I worked for government before independence and after independence. And I think because of that experience, I'm in a unique position, and I'm sure others are as well, who are in that kind of situation, to see what things were like then, how things are like today, and how we can improve ourselves as a country agriculturally, because there's always room for improvement, and things evolve over time. So we need to learn and to move forward. Yeah, before independence, things were pretty much like areas for Africans, areas for white farmers, etc. So that was the status quo. And because of that kind of situation, where you have a white government in charge, there was a lot of focus on the commercial sector. There was little focus on the small scale and the communal areas. The small scale and communal areas, were basically seen as places where the Africans could do whatever they were doing. But with time, it became clear that something had to be done in those areas again and as well. So this is how agriculture extension got into the small scale and the communal areas. It all began with Mr. Alvord. I'm sure we've heard about Mr. Alvord a long time ago. Mm-hmm. He began agriculture extension in the communal area. He was based in Chipinge. He was an American missionary. Mm-hmm. Then after that, government, the colonial government, took over and began to, implement new ideas, began to deploy trade staff, etc., etc. I believe the first extension person was Lambo, I understand, a long time ago.
In the early 30s.
Yeah, thereabouts. It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
If not late 20s.
Late 20s, early 30s.
Maybe, yeah. And then, basically, in the communal areas, when staff got deployed there, the major activity was training, giving new ideas, etc. But another major aspect was conservation, right? Mm-hmm. Because some of the areas in which the black people were settled was not always the best in terms of farming potential. Mm-hmm. Land was degraded, land that was hilly, etc. The extension staff at the time spent a lot of their time doing conservation works, makandiwa. Mm-hmm. These makandiwas, although they were very important from an extension point of view, from the technical point of view. If you are cultivating land that is slopy, you need those. They were pretty labor intensive, and I'm sure you will have heard of all sorts of issues that emanated.
Yeah, what I know is from my history is that that was a very unpopular kind of move.
Yes, it was. Uh-huh. And so, after independence now, the new government that was ushered in through the independence which we got in 1980, thank heavens, that put an end to all these divisions and opened up formerly commercial areas only to other farmers, black farmers. So began to acquire land to be settled there and to be more productive. And this is how today you find there are lots of resettlement areas, there are lots of A2 farmers, there are lots of A1 farmers in the former large-scale commercial area. So, this is where we are, and we have, during the process of this transformation, there have been problems, issues, challenges, etc., etc., and some of them still remain today. But I'm sure as a nation we are chipping off the rough edges and trying to smoothen up things a bit, so that we become a vibrant nation again. Because in the process of transformation, sometimes you lose some of the expertise that was acquired by people over time, and you need to recognize this knowledge and try to see how it can be recaptured and used to the best advantage of the country.
Right.
Now in a more holistic manner than before.
Right, Mr. Mashayamombe, I think you have just brought in something very important that I wanted to touch on. That currently, as we speak, I'm sure one of the problems that we are having is, human capacity in our institutions. There was a lot of brain drain, and then there was also a lot of natural attrition, people dying, people retiring, like yourself, you've retired. And we are looking at a situation where a lot of our government institutions, sensitive government institutions, important government institutions, are being manned by, I don't want to say incompetent people, maybe inexperienced, yes, or people really whose capacities probably would need some form of improvement. Just to sidetrack you a little bit, what are your thoughts? How can, because I'm looking at public service, public institutions, government institutions. I'm looking at their effectiveness. Surely is just as good as the people who are manning them, isn't it? How then can this kind of situation be tackled, be alleviated, be improved in a way?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. There's a lot of work to be done in my view. In the first place, fortunately, there's been an opening up of training institutions. These have mushroomed. This is a good thing. However, many of the people who have now gone to service the agricultural extension service sector do not have the experience. They are, most of them are new. What's needed there is to continuously train those people. Training is a major factor when you are trying to build up skilled people. You are trying to build up educational capacity, so that these people who are already working with farmers can become better. You need a real look at the training syllabus, if you want. What are we training our staff in? What do they need to know in terms of the new realities on the ground? Right? You need to do that very quickly and continuously, so that you now have a core of competent cadres advising farmers. Right? They may just have left school without a lot of competence in terms of skills, in terms of hands-on skills, because of the need to go out there and help farmers. But these guys need a lot of training, right? And some of that training can actually occur in the field while the people are at work, and they shouldn't be taken off their activities for too long. We are looking now at analyzing their needs, assessing their needs in terms of what they have to teach farmers. And I think this is very urgent, and it can be done now. And it needs resources, it needs prioritization, it needs focus. But this is very important if we are going to go back to the position where we were once the bread basket. We need that to happen now, right? The other thing that should happen is farmer training. Now, farmer training is very important, but it can only be, effective if those people training farmers are themselves well educated, well equipped with the knowledge and skills to do what they are supposed to do. And as of now, you will now appreciate that there's a lot of diversification. Farmers are growing crops which used to be perhaps the preserve of a few. There's been a huge movement into tobacco production. Now, while this is good, we need competent farmers who can produce good quality tobacco even from a small piece of land,
Mm-hmm.
you know, 1 hectare, less than 1 hectare. You need these people to be well trained, and for that you now need expert advice from agriculture extension people, so that these people taking care of the land have got the skill that we want them to have, and they are producing at maximum capacity. All right? So that we don't go down again. And the other thing that we need to do, in my view, there's been a lot of talk I heard about evaluating the land, what shall I say, how we gave ourselves land.
Yes. The land.
For this, I think we need to revisit the Rukuni report, the commission, where a number of critical recommendations were made. I still remember one thing, that the maximum large-scale commercial should be 200 hectares in the better rainfall areas, and slightly larger in the drier regions. And strictly, there should be one farmer to one commercial, farm.
Okay.
Those kinds of things, to me, are critical, so that you weed out land underutilization, so that you get rid of
land hoarding,
multiple
ownership,
land hoarding, etc. Because if we don't do that, we are simply repeating what used to be the case when a single white farmer would have several farms to himself, while black people didn't have anything. And it is very important, and this should be done by experts. They should look exactly the landowner at exactly the land ownership pattern, make recommendations, and ensure that the Rukuni report commission is completely implemented, so that you have a proper land utilization. There's a lot of land that is lying fallow now, and one of the reasons is simply this multiple ownership, in my view. Then after that, you have to train these farmers now. You have to train these farmers so that they can manage these farms properly. They need all sorts of education, from how to use the land to understanding the soils, to